10 collapsing towns in Scotland. Scotland is renowned for its majestic landscapes, rich history, and vibrant cities. However, beyond Edinburgh's charm and Glasgow's energy, many towns across the country are facing a less glamorous reality. This video explores 10 collapsing towns in Scotland, places once full of industry and community spirit that have seen a steady decline due to economic shifts, depopulation, and industrial closures. Despite these challenges, efforts are being made in some areas to bring these communities back to life. Here, we examine their past, present, and future potential, using facts, government data, and social insights. 10. Clune Park Estate, Port Glasgow, Inverclyde. Clune Park Estate was originally built to house shipyard workers during the height of Inverclyde's industrial success. As the shipbuilding industry declined, so too did the community. By the early 2000s, the estate had become synonymous with urban decay. With over 90% of its flats lying empty, the area faced issues of vandalism, fire hazards, and crime. Despite these conditions, a few residents remained, living in deteriorating buildings awaiting regeneration that took decades to begin. As of 2025, demolition has officially started, marking a turning point for the estate. The plan is to replace it with affordable housing and green space. The decline of Clune Park was not just economic, it was also social. As property values plummeted, landlords bought up flats cheaply and often failed to maintain them. The estate became a hotspot for absentee ownership and slum-like conditions, leading to repeated calls for intervention. Residents and campaigners now hope the cleared site will include green spaces, modern housing, and community services, creating a safer and more hopeful future. 9. Greenock, Inverclyde. Greenock was once a booming port town, central to Scotland's shipbuilding and sugar refining industries. However, the collapse of these industries led to chronic unemployment and economic stagnation. According to the Scottish Index of Multiple Deprivation, parts of Greenock are among the most deprived in the country. Today, empty shopfronts and deteriorating public infrastructure define much of the town centre. While the waterfront is being redeveloped, significant parts of the town have not felt the benefits. Although some regeneration projects are underway, Greenock still ranks as one of the most challenged communities in Scotland. Greenock's challenges are rooted in a loss of traditional industry and a slow adaptation to the knowledge economy. Its ageing population and low rates of inward migration have compounded the stagnation. While places like the Custom House Quay and Beacon Arts Centre hint at potential, young people often leave for Glasgow, reducing long-term growth prospects. 8. Dumbfries and Galloway. Known for its association with poet Robert Burns, Dumbfries holds cultural charm, but suffers from significant economic and infrastructural neglect. Visitors and locals alike point to its crumbling buildings, struggling high street, and lack of investment. While Dumbfries hosts cultural events and community-driven initiatives, these have yet to offset broader economic challenges. Retail closures and poor transport links limit its growth, and younger residents often leave for better opportunities elsewhere. Beyond the visible decay, Dumbfries suffers from issues of underemployment and regional inequality. Public transport to Scotland's central belt is limited, making it harder for businesses to thrive. Investment in digital infrastructure and support for rural enterprise could be key to Dumfries's transformation. 7. Stranraer, Dumfries and Galloway. Stranraer suffered a major economic hit in 2011 when the Stena Line ferry terminal moved to Cairnryan. This relocation reduced tourism, hurt local businesses, and accelerated urban decay. The town's waterfront, once bustling with ferry passengers, now feels empty and underutilised. While community events like the Stranraer Oyster Festival have reinvigorated some public interest, many of the town's buildings remain in disrepair. Local campaigns are pushing for marina redevelopment and tourism-based projects, but progress is slow. Since the ferry relocation, Stranraer's population has declined, and many local services have been consolidated or cut. Youth unemployment remains a concern, and high school graduates often leave permanently. Community groups have stepped up where public bodies have retreated, but without major government backing, long-term revival remains elusive. 6. Inverclyde, council area. The broader Inverclyde area, including towns like Port Glasgow, Greenock and Greenock, has experienced steady depopulation over the last 3 decades. Since 1996, Inverclyde has lost over 14,000 residents, a decline that affects schools, public services and economic viability. Many towns face overlapping challenges such as ageing infrastructure, high unemployment and outmigration of young people. Some areas have been identified as high priority zones for urban renewal. Despite targeted investments, progress has been inconsistent, and some neighbourhoods remain visibly neglected. Depopulation in Inverclyde affects all facets of life, from empty classrooms to underused bus routes. The council has outlined plans to build more sustainable housing and repurpose disused buildings, but execution has been uneven. There is also a growing emphasis on mental health services, job retraining and digital connectivity, all aimed at reversing generational cycles of decline. 5. Bothwell, North Lanarkshire. Bothwell was a coal mining village that thrived in the early 20th century. However, underground mining caused subsidence and flooding, making the area uninhabitable. In 1965, the entire village was demolished, and today it lies beneath Strathclyde Loch. Although no longer a living town, the story of Bothwell Hall highlights the extreme vulnerabilities of industrial communities. Memorial plaques and walking routes now commemorate the village's history within Strathclyde Country Park. Today, Bothwell Hall's memory is preserved not only in plaques, but also in local oral histories. Former residents and their descendants gather to commemorate the community through events and archives. It offers a rare example of how environmental rehabilitation can follow human displacement. 4. Polfale, Argyle and Bute. Polfale is often called Scotland's ghost village. Built in the 1970s to house oil rig construction workers, it was abandoned before it was ever inhabited. The planned oil yard never opened due to economic and technical issues. For decades, the village stood empty, attracting graffiti artists and urban explorers. In 2016, it was finally demolished. New plans involve creating a whisky distillery and visitor centre. Polfale's failure stemmed from overly ambitious economic planning tied to North Sea oil development. The site's new owners hope to tap into Argyle's tourism and export potential. If successful, it could serve as a model for how forgotten places can be rebranded and revived. 3. Lassady, Fife. Lassady was once a thriving mining village with schools, shops and sports facilities. After its coal mine shut down, the village gradually emptied out. By the 1960s, Lassady had become a modern ruin, with many homes demolished, and only a few traces of the original community remaining. Today, walkers and history enthusiasts visit the site to see the remnants of the village. Lassady is one of several former mining villages in Scotland that disappeared due to industrial collapse. Lassady's demise mirrored that of many small pit villages in Fife. The village schools, shops and pubs all closed within a decade. There are local calls to preserve the ruins and create interpretive signs, making Lassady part of a wider heritage trail focused on Fife's mining legacy. 2. Beglin Highland. Beglin is a forgotten township located in Glenmore Forest Park, once home to a small crofting community. It was abandoned by 1875 due to the Highland clearances, where landlords evicted tenants to make way for sheep farming. Today, only stone ruins remain, quiet reminders of a past forcibly erased. While not a modern town in decline, Beglin represents a historical collapse rooted in policy and power imbalance. Beglin's fate highlights the long-term effects of the Highland clearances. Evicted tenants were forced to emigrate or resettle in lowland cities, fracturing the local culture. Rewilding efforts in nearby areas may one day include interpretive paths or educational exhibits about cleared communities like Beglin. 1. Ratray, Aberdeenshire. Ratray was once a prosperous royal burgh established in the 16th century. A massive storm in 1720 destroyed its harbour and silted up the estuary, cutting off maritime trade. The town never recovered. Today, only ruins remain, including the Chapel of St Mary and an ancient motte. Nearby villages have grown, but Ratray itself faded from the map. Ratray's story is unique in its suddenness. Environmental disaster, not economic drift, caused its downfall. Over time, its residents relocated inland, and the old town was left to the elements. Archaeologists have explored the site, and local groups are pushing for signage and walking trails to preserve its heritage. These 10 collapsing towns in Scotland illustrate the long shadow cast by industrial decline, depopulation, and underinvestment. From Inverclyde's urban decay to the ghost towns of Bothwell, Half and Bothwell, these places represent more than decay. They reflect cycles of change. While some have disappeared completely, others are finding new life through heritage tourism and regeneration. With proper investment and community engagement, these forgotten towns could play a vital role in Scotland's future, not just its past. Thank you for watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell.